Call the Tuesday, March 18th, meeting of the Erie Planning Commission to order. Go through a roll call. Chairman, I am here. Colin?
Present.
Tony? Are you here?
Present.
Present, thank you. And Jason?
Present.
Okay. Our director and secretary are also present. Okay. First item, approval of the February 18th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Those are both the regular meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes are both attached
Okay.
and need to be approved.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve each.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second for approval. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. First item, public comment or correspondence. Is there any? I
There's-
see no one here on the usual side. You know what?
Bueller.
Yeah,
There's no public comment or correspondence, I'm sorry,
Okay.
correspondence.
thank you. We'll move on. Old business, the bylaws.
Yes, so since our last meeting, we made the suggested changes to the bylaws. We put term limits in Article 3 under membership. Membership consists of 5 persons appointed by the Erie City Council serving staggered terms. See, that says Erie City Council. So I might have been wrong, Jason. I had stated before the meeting that you're appointed by council, but I think by the mayor, but I think you are appointed by city council, but I have to double check that there.
I thought they got alternating appointments, city council and then the mayor. I could be
Possibly. Here it states that it's,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not a big deal as long as we're just doing it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could check the original bylaws, but I don't know. I know that, I believe it's maybe alternating because Mark Klecker's position was appointed by mayor.
Yeah.
So commission chair shall promptly notify the city council of any variances in the commission. No member of the commission may serve more than 2 consecutive terms, but after a 1-term absence, serve an additional 1 term of 4 years. So we made that determination on our own. I mean, it's open to comment, but
Yeah, I
that's,
don't, do you, like, if you have willing volunteers, do you want to get rid of them that quick? 2 terms? I don't.
I guess that's my thing is there a way that we get creative with the language and have something to the extent of if there's no other, willing participants or volunteers, do we want to allow for a 3rd term if there is somebody who still is, willing and able to participate?
we're just drafting our bylaws for, or looking at our bylaws for the HRC. We're putting term limits on that board. We have term limits on the EAC board.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
I'm not saying there should be limits,
It's probably a
but
good
to-
idea to have term limits
Absolutely.
on there. But I mean, I have not seen some flexibility language in there. I mean, I feel like,
I would
know-
disagree on one point though. I think, which I don't know if I saw in here, but I made that comment about having a licensed architect or planner. I think that's critical for the planning commission. You have to have somebody that uses the zoning code on a regular basis on this committee. And
I thought we added that to.
I would, if somebody that didn't have Mr. Spiker or my credentials or even yours, Jackie, I think they're super valuable.
Yeah,
to
I think it's
Yeah.
important we have that guidance on council.
But I would,
commission.
I would say I would forego in that case, a vacancy as long as there's one licensed professional of some sort.
Yeah, I have seen that. I mean, I think we had even looked at ones that required AICP, which was a little bit stringent, considering we don't have that many AICPs in the area. But we can add to have, now, what are you recommending? One architect and one planner, or at least
In a
one?
perfect world, but I don't think we're gonna have enough planners, right? And you're gonna run out of architects at some point. Because there's only 20 of us left in town. But
So,
I
I think I remember you stating that last time, that it should, should have some kind of design focus background.
somebody that's
Or
in the
plan.
industry that's using this map,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it could be an architect and/or planner.
planner, I would say the state is going to be licensing interior designers too. They don't really have a direct
No, that,
relationship with planning as much, but they could potentially work at design firms that would,
yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, I missed that. I'm sorry.
Be better than
You,
nothing, right?
Jason, you had mentioned that last meeting, and I apologize. We missed that, that correction. So we'll put that in and then send it back out.
The
But I
other-
don't know what that would do to the term if we made it so you always have to have a licensed professional on the commission. How does that interact with the term limits for that? Or are we always hitting, every 8 years we're hitting the reset, you have to find another professional for the committee? Because one of you, if we both resigned, how would you resolve that?
Well, we could use more of the design background of some kind instead of having a licensed architect or AICP.
5 years experience in a design firm, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, AICP, I think is definitely.
Okay. So are your recommendations to keep the term limits as is, or you would like some time to think about that? And
I mean,
I don't have any problem with those as long as they ensure that there's expertise here, that
yeah.
people that can read a plan and acknowledge whether or not it meets our comprehensive plan. Those should be a minimum skill set to be sitting here.
okay.
I'd, is that, do we remain on the commission until replaced at the end of a term?
I think this was explained to me. Yes, you would, right, you would remain until replaced. I believe so.
Okay, so,
Well, that would be a way you could
That-
do it then if you
Yeah.
have a.
You could put that in
Yeah.
there.
Until you find the next licensed professional,
yeah,
that one that's remaining.
Yeah, I believe we have that in one of our other bylaws, that you would remain in place until replacement.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I think something like that makes sense.
yeah, because then you may not have a quorum, you
Yeah.
may be at risk to not have a quorum
Right.
at some meetings, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a
Depending upon how
replacement. Sure.
Getting people. I'd also suggested, we didn't talk about really, that the chairmanship revolve amongst when you're,
Oh, come on. We were gonna keep voting you every year.
huh?
We're just gonna keep nominating you every year.
Well, it's good for somebody else in the hot seat.
Well, you can make it so the vice chair immediately, at the following year, if the vice chair.
Yeah.
We can put in language that says an election is, election occurs annually at the first regular meeting, but you're saying that it shouldn't be the same person each year.
I mean, it's at least worth discussing.
Okay,
Not that I don't mind being another year. Maybe it's gotta be not more than 2 terms or something, but, you know,
It's not like you dictate the agenda, so it's not like city council where.
no, no, that's right.
Okay, sure.
Don't want to get too big for my britches. I don't want to get too big for my britches.
There's also under Article 2, Powers and Duties. The powers and duties of the commission are set forth in Article 155.01. That's an administrative ordinance that delegates the powers and authorities to the planning commission. That language was originally in there as well as the Saldo language, but I had consulted with Jason, our solicitor, and we need to revise that section. It's just a paragraph right now, and all of the other, like the EAC board, it's like a 3-page ordinance that talks about the duties and the responsibilities of what the role is of the Environmental Advisory Council. The Planning Commission has like 5 sentences. So Jason and I are going to work on that administrative ordinance, and I just referenced it here. Otherwise, we're gonna have to go back and adopt the bylaws. However, if I finish that up with Jason, we can add the language, but he said it wasn't necessary to put the full, the
Right.
full section in there.
Yeah.
It just essentially delegates those powers and authority to the Planning Commission. But it should be fleshed out a little bit more. We don't have a real robust section for some reason,
Right.
from the 60s, I guess. So we're going to revisit that.
Okay.
Okay.
And in section 2, it says the commission has the power to make recommendations regarding new buildings, structures, or works to be erected or constructed by the city. What's the definition of works?
I think we use that some of that language from a template we received from the state. So I don't know exactly. Yeah.
I mean, are we
Oh,
gonna-
that's from Article 155?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is
Oh,
it-
that's right. That's
is it
right.
Bubble fountains
Go
everywhere.
ahead.
Yeah.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Cooper knows.
Signage?
That is from Article 155, I think. Instead of having the full text of that article in here like we did, we just kind of summarized in the 3 sections. So it might be defined in the code.
But it-
I don't know that.
It's so vague.
But is it defined? I mean, do we have to, are we approving every sewer inlet, storm sewer inlet, road design?
Yeah, works is so
I
vague.
mean, 'cause I would
Yeah.
love to see a.
I think
roundabout
that's the
around
problem
Raspberry.
with 155 is that it's
So
just,
vague.
it's so vague. And so we'll work through that. And
Okay.
I highlighted that terminology. And
Yeah.
we should make sure we have a bit more clarity there. So good
So we
point.
may need to revise the powers and duties down the line,
Well-
even though we're pointing at 155, just some of those.
Well, this is
sections.
actually all of 155. This
Okay.
Article
Okay.
2 is 155 summarized.
Okay.
It's just in one paragraph in E code. So
Gotcha.
we split it up, but yeah, we need to provide more clarity to the roles and duties of the planning commission. So
Should in that same section, section 3, erected or constructed by the city, should that be in the city? So, just small technicality, but
oh,
the city's not doing the erection.
I mean, I would like to see the new police building.
yes,
Yeah.
only the city
Yeah.
does, not external. Yes. Go ahead. Do you want to answer?
No, not if it's referencing 155, which it just talks about things that the city does. I think the municipality's planning code is broader, but I think the Article 155 of the city administrative code just refers to things that the city is doing.
Internally.
Okay.
So we're not going to see
So that's the whole.
all the developments that could occur in the city pass through us.
Right, only ones that are required, so that are subdivisions or land development.
Should you strike that whole prepositional phrase, and works erected or constructed by the city, then? Because we wouldn't be reviewing those. Unless
Yeah, I
they're-
think per the MPC, it's not also approval, it's recommendations. So this language needs to be worked
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to work through this.
It may not be
language.
worth us nitpicking it much further and
Yeah.
starting to make the updates and go from there.
Yeah, and I think that powers and duties probably needs to reference what the city's allocated to us, but also needs to be a superset of whatever the NPC
Yes,
requires.
Yeah.
Or authorizes us to do.
so we could, next time, even if the ordinance is not complete for 155, I could strike that whole powers and duties and just reference 155, and you could adopt the bylaws, and then we can continue to work on the ordinance.
Right.
Maybe that'd be easiest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we could do it that way. And Jason had mentioned that to me
yeah,
actually today. So
okay.
just so you can finalize the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it elucidating what the duties and powers of the commission are would help us internally,
Yes,
our city family, but also the public have a better understanding of why it is we do what we do
Or don't.
or don't. Yeah, right. That's part of this is about education.
I think also, ideally help people get involved to actually understand what it is
Yeah.
they can be doing on it, so.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Next item, number 5, new business, subdivision and land development, nothing under rezoning. Lighted property designation,
No.
nothing?
none.
Okay. Character analysis, area analysis presentation by Michael Baker International.
Yes. So Seth, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you okay, like 40% of the time.
Yeah, I think people need to speak a little bit closer to their microphone because I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing as well. Seth, as you know, has been on the team preparing the character areas analysis for us. And at this meeting, Seth is going to be presenting the final draft of both the existing character areas map and the future character areas map. So I have printed out 2 maps, the existing and future for you all, and then hopefully you can see the presentation. The colors might not correlate 100%, but I hope they're close enough. So Seth, thank you for attending, and I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you, Planning Commission. It is great to be with you all again. Can everyone see the presentation okay? I see it
Yep.
on our screen, so I think we're good to go. Just a real quick agenda, kind of a refresh of what we talked about before, and then we'll jump right into the important part of the conversation, which are changes we've made to the future character areas map. I do want to go through just briefly the goals of the project and then some of the community development objectives that we've modified here in the last couple of weeks. So again, kind of the overall goals of the objective for this character area mapping is to basically, establish a baseline for existing land use patterns, set the future vision for the city of Erie. And all of this is culminating in the expected zoning and sound updates in the near future, pending a grant request that the city recently submitted. Our analysis process has been modified slightly only for the inclusion of the conversations there in the little pink boxes that we've had with city staff, the planning commission, and then importantly, the neighborhood growth partnership meeting that we had back in the middle of February. It was really really good conversation with the partnership group. They gave us a lot of really good information on their thoughts on both the existing and the future character area maps, as well as some initiatives that they're working on in their respective neighborhoods that we might not have heard up to this point, or just other outside ideas that we were able to integrate into our mapping exercise. And I think it really helped develop a strong future character area map for the city. We also recently kind of shrunk down our overall community development objectives. I think it was a fair comment from the commission that it was probably a little bit too broad into just too many of them. We had 12 community development objectives as of 2 weeks ago. We pared them down to 6, and then there's a separate community development objective printout that we sent to city staff, so you should have access to that. It goes into a little bit more detail on what each of these mean, but essentially, promoting the vibrancy of downtown and some of our mixed-use neighborhoods, both in terms of residential and non-residential uses, enhancing our street spaces and community public spaces to leverage economic development, connecting our bayfront to the neighborhoods in the downtown, promoting adaptive reuse and transformation of industrial properties, supporting incremental development, and then lastly, encouraging residential density and housing choice across the city. Before I move on from this slide and get into some of the mapping conversation, do we have any further thoughts or conversation about these 6 community development objectives?
Yeah, I'd like to share the draft that we had of the objectives had like in-depth kind of descriptions that I think those descriptions are valuable for everybody else that's not sitting here. You know what I'm saying? The original list, yeah, I would, if we're sharing this with the general public, I feel like that's a key educational component of this for them to, like, this is great for a PowerPoint slide, right? But we really, if somebody dives into this, we want them to see those
The nuance.
extra paragraph, that extra couple sentences of each goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what does each one of those bullet points really mean? Like I agree with there was probably 2 that long. This was getting kind of long and some of them were overlapping and redundant. So this is good to consolidate.
Okay.
But this all means stuff to everybody here, right? But the average person does, like, what does density mean?
Mm-hmm.
Jack, yeah, I heard most of that. I think I heard, this are a good starting point, but it means something different to other people. Did I need to clarify anything?
Yeah, I think that Jason was saying that the full list that you provided us during our working sessions, we'd also like to continue to share that to the public, since some of those have a little bit more information and provide clarity around, what this all means, and fleshes it out, even though it might be a little bit more redundant. So I think having this in the presentation is concise and helpful, but sharing the full list might also be an educational component for the community. That's all.
We could very easily take that in that separate PDF that we sent you and just drop it into this PowerPoint slide as a more fleshed out version of these objectives, and you can use it as one comprehensive thing to share. Moving into the existing character areas, this is information that we have talked about before, but I wanted to do a quick refresher. It's based on the existing character form, flow, feel of different sites and areas throughout the city. It's not necessarily based on existing zoning or property ownership, and it's really just used to establish the baseline of the existing form as we move into the future character areas. Existing character areas that we come up with are low density residential, or urban residential, high density residential areas that kind of represent the transition in density of the different residential areas across the city. We also have some mixed use in commercial areas, such as the waterfront commercial, which is primarily based on the waterfront in Lake Erie. Our commercial areas, which are kind of the periphery of the city, and some of our more auto-oriented shopping centers and plazas. And then the downtown mixed use is representative of, the downtown core of Erie that has a variety of uses, both residential and commercial. And then we had identified 2 industrial areas, light industrial and heavy industrial. They're kind of self-explanatory. Light industrial is more of your smaller scale, less impactful industrial areas, whereas heavy industrial does include your more impactful and higher intensity industrial areas. And we had 2 special areas, a recreation and open space, which represented parks and open spaces across the city, and then institutions such as Gannon University and the other one, I'm losing it now already, Mercyhurst, down there around the southwest, eastern section of the city. So 2 important industrial institutional areas, part of the existing character areas. Kind of flowing into the transition to the future character areas map, we followed the existing character areas map. We've talked with the planning commission there, we've talked to city staff, as well as we've talked with the neighborhood growth partnership, and identified their objectives, the vision that they would like to see for the city, and reflected that in a revised future character area. If an objective recommended change of character for an area, it was then reclassified. And then this will be a precursor to what could eventually be the city zoning map. Future character area map is not necessarily meant to be one-to-one to a future zoning map. Character areas may be consolidated, they may be split up further based on specific zoning needs in certain areas, but it does provide that good start. And then one more refresher on some of the changes in the character areas between existing and future. The waterfront mixed use was an area that was established around the Erie Coke site. Neighborhood mixed use provides some neighborhood services contextual to some of the residential areas across the city. Our urban residential was meant to be more of an inclusive area that provides for a mixture of housing types, from single families to townhouses, all the way to small scale multifamily residential. The Innovation District is a new one that focuses on revitalizing areas of the city around old industrial sites into public gathering spaces, workers maker spaces, kind of those innovation sectors that present some opportunity for the city of Erie. And then our institutional campuses like Mercyhurst are these large-scale areas that kind of maintain their own singular land use and pattern and feel, rather than ones like Gannon that are more integrated into the city itself. And this is the good stuff, and I will I'll pull up the future character area map here in just a second. It's part of the larger map, so we can all review it together. I also have it available tablet if we want to take some shared notes at the same time. But you can see the change between the existing character area map on the left and the future character area map on the right, with the inclusion of the Innovation District kind of in that northwest sector, north of 16th Street between 16th and 10th, and extending east-west over 12th Street corridor and its periphery. That waterfront mixed use that I mentioned on the former Erie Coke site, and then just kind of all of the other future character areas distributed throughout the city itself. And one last slide before I pull that back into the big map for us to look at. Just some future considerations as the city positions itself for a zoning ordinance update. As I mentioned, character areas are not meant to be representative one-to-one for future zoning districts. They could be consolidated, they could be divvied up, just really depends on certain areas. There's also provisions available to the city for zoning overlays or specific dimensional standards for different types of uses in zoning districts. We've talked with the city, and their grant application talks about implementing a form-based code, which does provide the city a whole litany of options on how they want to control and regulate development. We've talked a lot with you all as a planning commission about allowing for flexibility of uses across the city, both commercial and non-commercial, residential, non-residential, to kind of meet the needs of the market, what the city's residents need to see in the future, and provide some of those contextual neighborhood services. And then finally, we have to consider at the end of the day how this connects into the city. So with the land development ordinance, it may need to be revised concurrently. There are other components outside of zoning that we do have to consideration.
Yeah, let's look at the space here.
I had the large version of the future character areas map open, but we pause here for any questions, comments. I think Jackie said she did print off a large copy of this for you to review, so you might not have to rely fully on the screen.
Yeah, definitely.
But I want to hear from the commission on thoughts of our newest version of the future character areas map.
This looks a lot better. This is, it's very, very
yeah.
accurate from the last version. I'd say that you definitely did a good job capturing everybody's notes and comments.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. We appreciate that. You know, you of the commission have provided us a lot of great comments. Colin did a great job. The Neighborhood Growth Partnership gave us a lot of really good feedback. You know, some things are reflected here on the character areas map. Some of the comments we got are more zoning specific things that need to be addressed in the future. But we do think it kind of culminated in that kind of really quality map here.
I couldn't hear that last part.
What was that last part?
I was just saying, I think it came into something that we feel is really positions the city well for the future work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a recommendation on this, or?
Does this go to public comment ever? I feel like it should.
Well, this was really an internal exercise. I mean, we weren't, we had asked, this was kind of like the beginning of the process, right? And we applied for the MAP grant to rewrite the zoning and the zoning ordinance in the Saldo. We should know in May, I believe, May or June, if we were awarded that grant. This would, well, Seth, and maybe you can answer that question, is typically in communities that you do this initial exercise, I mean, what's the next step? Now that, we've done the internal exercise, do you allow the public to comment on, I mean, does the municipality typically open this up for public comment? Does this roll into the rewrite of the ordinances, or what have you seen in your experience?
Yeah, so typically when we have done this exercise in the past, it has already been part of an ongoing zoning ordinance update project. So this will be one of the first exercises that we undertake. We will do a round of public engagement, whether that be workshops or some type of pop-up event, to get this out in front of the community, gather feedback. We did that here to some degree when talking with Neighborhood Growth Partnership, but there is certainly an opportunity to push this out further, have a standalone event, or piggyback on an existing event, to have this showcased and talk about the importance of going through this exercise to set the city up for zoning. With this kind of in its own sense being a standalone, at least at this point in time, I think we might be better served reserving that until we go through that zoning ordinance update process and say we have these character areas. Let's kind of kick off our public engagement with that, get some positive feedback hopefully on that part, and then continue to roll into your zoning ordinance update based on what you hear from that response to the character.
My only concern is we tried to catch everything, but we don't own every property in the town, right? So there's going to be a couple property owners and landowners that look at this map and go, whoa, that's not the right color for my property.
And that people will have, as we move into redoing the zoning map and the zoning ordinance, there'll be plenty of time and incentive for people to come forward with respect to a specific property or whatever. And nothing on here, given the kind of gross nature of allocation, with their hexagons, that is set in stone permanently. So I think that people will have plenty of opportunity to come forward and to argue about stuff.
Our 5 YouTube viewers can show up in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the grant application, within the grant application, there is an engagement piece to this process. So there will be ample opportunities for the public, not only to come in front of you all
Right.
and comment, but there'll be engagement points along the way to meet people where they're at, and not necessarily have them come to City Hall. Just to note, the special meetings, the 2 special meetings that we did have, where you were, it was a working session for the Planning Commission, those were public meetings as well. And anyone is invited to come and attend those, to listen, to make public comment at the beginning. So just to note, I mean, I know that it's not necessarily that we're trying to encourage a lot of participation at that moment, but they are public. They are public.
I just fear that if there's people that are not aware that this process is happening with us and they own a large plot of land and maybe they came in here 2 years ago with a development plan and now we've colored their property green, they might take objection to that.
But I think as an internal exercise, we, you as a commission and city staff really got the sense of like, yeah, we have very different, we're moving in a very different path
Oh, yeah. This is
than
good.
we were
All positive
for
direction.
existing. So I think that was very helpful in working through this exercise. Now, we did receive a comment, I believe yesterday, from Sisters of St. Joseph that said that exact parcel has to remain industrial. So there will be that, and
Yeah.
people will come forward.
But-
And I sent that on to the consultants.
Yeah.
But I mean, to your point, that one parcel, it has to remain industrial. So
But that's not what we're,
that's not what we're looking at. We're not
Yeah.
looking at it parcel by parcel.
Did you tell them that's spot zoning and that's illegal?
I just sent it on to the consultants.
No, but maybe the request has some validity and it needs to be like a mixed use or something.
Yes.
And
But I mean, you said there's that engagement piece with that grant. So it sounds like that's, as long as that's obviously going to be big, is just making sure that the engagement is there to the greatest extent we can twist people's arms to come show up.
Yeah, and it's a 2-year grant. So, I mean, if you watched anything at Mill Creek and how they went through their comp plan and, it's a long process.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did redid their zone, but yeah, this is a 2-year grant that has a pretty robust engagement piece to it.
okay. Would it would be inappropriate to adopt the resolution of the commission that the future character analysis forms the basis of our thinking moving forward?
I'll second.
Okay.
That's our motion?
I don't have to
I-
repeat it.
You mean you want this to inform the beginning process of the zoning ordinance and saldo rewrite if awarded the MAP
Right.
grant? Okay.
Yeah, and well,
I mean, I think regardless
even
of that
if we
grant,
aren't
this is the
awarded, I
direction we
think
want to go.
that what I want to do is have the commission and commission staff proceed using this analysis as the basis for our thinking. We're not adopting it formally as a recommendation to the city to do any specific thing, but,
And I think the goals and objectives is something that we should, maybe at the next meeting, we talk through that a little bit more, because those goals and objectives that Michael Baker succinctly, listed are really coming out of the comp plan or the neighborhood plans. And those are the goals and objectives that the commission can be upholding throughout each process that you
and
take.
so maybe it's appropriate to,
Adopt those.
Part of the comp plan.
as part of, after the final plan is produced, I assume we approve it at that point, the whole thing? Do we recommend it?
Or adopt it as our guiding
Yeah.
principle or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if we need to let it, we can withdraw the motion today and do it at the next meeting when it's all
Do we
done.
need a motion at all?
Huh? Well,
We just want to protect this if we don't get the grant, we don't want this to be lost, right?
yeah, we don't want this to be lost or to think that, well, suddenly we're going in.
Maybe we table it until our next meeting and between now and then we can come up with kind of how we phrase what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand where you're going. I mean, this could be the basis of the project
Right,
that it will undertake, hopefully at the beginning of, well,
that's right.
possibly in the fall.
Yeah.
But I think that some of the objectives and goals, like I mentioned, could be, we've talked about what are your goals and objectives for 2025.
Right.
And you could roll that into that, that list. I think there are others. I think we need to revisit the comp plan again and look at the goals and objectives in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's not, I don't think it would hurt to make a motion. I mean, if you wanted to do that, or you can table it if that's what you'd like.
Maybe work through basically next time going around adopting what our
Yeah.
driving focus or what our driving goals are for
Yep.
the commission that this forms the basis of that.
Yeah, okay. So we will table the motion today until the next meeting and consider all the goals as part of the report, as part of the study. Okay,
Good with that.
great.
And Seth, just to ask, in terms of how, I can't exactly remember in the scope, but will this be compiled into a small report of some kind, or how do you, is this the deliverable that you presented us with today?
Yep, it's honestly a great question, Jackie. I think what I would like to run by the team here is bundling this up into a short memo, kind of on last time outlining the process, core objectives, what the deliverables were, and then package that with the maps, presentation, and the community development objectives.
That's good. And then when we have that memo and the full package for next time, you could make a motion
Yeah.
not to adopt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Back and consider.
That sounds good, yes. And
Yep.
if there are any other comments from the planning commission or staff, is there an end date that you'd like that by? I mean, I think probably most likely pretty soon. I know we're at the end of this
Yeah,
project.
Let's say by next Wednesday, 26th.
Okay, that's good.
Great.
We'll start working on our end of the final product, and then we can make any changes, last minute changes, but should stop us from getting some work going.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thank
It's,
you.
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Thanks, Seth.
Great work with you.
good work. Thank you to the entire NBI team.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Old business, there is none. Noted. Department of Planning and Neighborhood Resources updates. Ms. Fry.
I don't really have any updates today.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything new to update you on.
Okay. Well, our favorite. Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.